So if by any chance this doesn't go live on Facebook, I'll still have a recording, Lynn, and I can share this later on Facebook. And also I'll share the link with you. All right, so at this point, I'd like to introduce and welcome anybody who's watching us live on Facebook right now as well. My name is Brenda Meller. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Inforum Troy Affinity Group. We're meeting virtually now due to COVID, and we've got a great speaker. We're so glad that you have all made time this morning to join us. Our speaker is fellow Inforum member Lynne Golodner, who is the founder and chief creative officer at Your People, LLC. And I'll let Lynne talk a little bit about herself. Her topic for today is finding your meaning. So without further ado, I'll turn the floor over to Lynne.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. I'm not sure why all of a sudden my PowerPoint looks like somebody's drawing on it. So not sure how that happened, but I'm Lynne Golodner, and I have two things that I'm here for. One is my company, Your People. We do PR and marketing, and the Make Meaning movement, which came out of the Make Meaning podcast, which I encourage you all to listen to, is something that I launched in the past few months. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about finding your meaning. Oh my goodness, I really don't know how that happened, guys. Sorry.
It's an annotation, and I'm trying to find the menu to remove the annotation. Any of the co-hosts, if you are aware of how to do that, please, if you could clear out the annotations on there. I'm trying to search for it myself, but we'll get that cleared up for you, Lynne.
Okay, because I didn't touch anything, so sorry, so sorry. So what we're going to talk about today is how you make your work meaningful. And I've been working with a lot of people through the Make Meaning movement. I invite you to participate with me as well, though there'll be a couple of opportunities for free coaching sessions. I'm offering 9 free coaching sessions in memory of George Floyd. So email me if you're interested. And I'll be doing a Finding Your Voice workshop later this summer with free seats for participants who are Black, Indigenous, people of color. So please let me know if you're interested. But we've been working on how we find our personal meaning and use that to drive our professional pursuits and how we want to make career choices. So we're going to talk a little bit about what do we mean by meaning? It's not the big old meaning of life, huge question that we basically spend all of our years looking for. It's something that you define for yourself today. Where do I find my meaning? What am I here to do? How am I uniquely positioned to make a difference in my community and my world? And then how do I put that into action? And that is something that is a living, breathing thing. So you might discover your meaning and articulate it today. And a year from now, I would encourage you to revisit that because it likely will have changed as you make decisions and you move forward and you go out into the world. But the ultimate truth is that companies, brands, entrepreneurs, and individuals are much more successful. They have greater impact and they're more satisfied when they have a purpose driving what they do. And meaning and purpose are we're using them interchangeably here. So when you understand your meaning and why you're here, why you're doing what you're doing, you can elevate your work and it has much more impact and it has further reaching. So we want to figure out what's your why and why are you showing up to this job, to this career, to this day, and how you can be more successful in your pursuits. So who am I? Well, I have done a lot of things. I am a writer. I have 8 books that have been published. I'm working on a 9th with a publisher already about the Make Meaning Matrix and how we make a difference. That'll be out later this year. I was a journalist for 15 years and wrote for magazines and newspapers around the country. And a lot of my inquiry and interviews have been really searching how people find their meaning and make purpose in their work. And that is also what my podcast, the Make Meaning podcast, is all about. I interview really inspiring individuals and ask them where they make meaning and find purpose and how we all can learn from that. In my business, which I started in 2007, it's called Your People, LLC. We help schools and universities, municipalities, and entrepreneurs market with meaning. And we do that through strategic storytelling, mutually beneficial relationships, and higher purpose. So this question of meaning and purpose has been around pretty much everything that I do. I do believe that the work you do should align with who you are. I think when you're in your right place, you do better and you enjoy it more. And then, of course, people really want to interact with you. Like I said, Make Meaning Podcast, tune into that. And the Make Meaning movement is at makemeaning.org. So a LinkedIn study in 2018 found that half of all professionals in sort of midlife aren't sure what their career path should look like, even though they've been in the workforce for a decade. A quarter of Americans say they just sort of fell into their job. And I know tons of people who can vouch for that. And they didn't necessarily actively choose it. They just said, what am I going to do? And something showed up. Another 0.25% say that they feel like they are walking a treadmill, sort of a hamster wheel. Just I'm doing the same thing again and again, and I'm not sure why. So we have all been in this unique time over the past few months where either we've been forced to pause and pivot, or we've chosen to pause and take the downtime and the shutdowns to really reflect and take a look at what we're doing and why. There's times in our lives when we all have to pause for various reasons. And that can be a personal choice, or it can be foisted upon us. But whenever it happens and however, we can feel panic, or we can look at it as a gift. And I choose to see it as a gift because it really gives us opportunity to reflect and to dig into why we're here and what we are meant to do. And then we can purposefully pivot and decide what direction we really want to go in and what we're well suited to go in. So it's are you going to take the reins, or is it going to happen to you? And that is a choice. And that is something that I'm working with people on as well. Because when you come from that place of strength and choosing to do it, you're way more impactful and more powerful as well. When it comes from a place of panic, it's sort of an air of desperation that overarches everything we do, and that hinders our success. So in this pause opportunity, we can look for options. We can look for opportunities. We can evaluate what we're uniquely talented to do and the experiences that we've had that sort of build up to provide a foundation for what we can leap off and do next. So this is all a matter of perspective. And I would encourage you at this time to think about, whether you're pausing or not, what have you always wanted to do? Because there is something, and it may be really, really deep down inside you, but it's there, and it probably needs to come to the surface. So I just encourage you to sort of ponder that a little bit, maybe journal about it, and then think about, what would your life be like if you actually followed your dreams and you decided, this is where I'm going to go for it. It's scary. I don't know if it's going to succeed, but I'm going to give it a shot. So in a minute, I'm going to talk about the meaning proposition and how you come to it. And that is something that I work with people on. And we'll try to figure out what yours is if we choose to work together. But I will tell you that when I started my company, it was another grand pause. It was right about the time of the Great Recession. I was becoming a single mom of 3 kids, ages 1, 3, and 5. I was leaving a marriage where my ex-husband was a musician. So we had sort of a precarious foundation for us. And everything was shutting down. Everybody I knew was losing their jobs. And I was a journalist, and journalism was really changing, and lots of magazines were closing down. It was a pretty scary time. And I took this leap and I started my company, Your People. And it was terrifying. But I chose to look at it as, first of all, what's the worst case scenario? So the absolute worst thing, if I don't have any clients and nobody shows up, am I really going to be down and out? And I was fortunate to have a safety net in my family and know that while I didn't really want to move in with my parents in midlife, I could if I needed to. And that was enough motivation to get me going. And I even had people say to me, I don't know if your idea is such a great one. Clients say to me, and then they stayed with me for a few years, and I realized that it actually was a good idea, and they came back and told me that too. So sometimes when you leap, it can be really scary, but it can also lead you to a really wonderful place. This is 13 years later. So for me, I am showing you a picture of my journal from the 1970s. This is the corduroy covered journal that I had when I was a kid, and I carried it around. I wrote stories and poems and skits and just all kinds of musings. And I keep it on a shelf behind my desk because it reminds me of who I am at the core. So we start when we're looking for a meaning proposition to tie into some memories from your earliest years that give you clues to who you are and why you're here, what you're meant to do. Maybe you have a memento or a keepsake or memory like this that reminds you. And I'd encourage you to get back in touch with that. Maybe pull it out, take a look at that, see how it feels, because that's the beginning of finding your meaning proposition. Whoever just removed all the scribbles, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So there's 3 parts to your personal meaning when we work on this meaning proposition. So the first one is the what, or the meat of it. So that comes from your unique gifts, your talents, sort of like what you have to offer. The second piece is the path through which you disseminate your gifts to the world. So how do you get them out there, the delivery? And then the third is who's going to receive it. So this is a relationship piece of your meaning. So who are you going to engage with? Who are you going to help with these talents, and how are you going to do it? And those are sort of the rough components that comprise your meaning. And we'll talk in the next slide about, what that looks like in words, how we articulate it. But so what happens when you uncover this truth, when you really dig in and you see what you are meant to do and you start to put that into action? Well, you begin to live as you were meant to. You sort of show up each day with relish and excitement. You don't feel like it's work, even though you're working really hard, because you're in your right place. You have way more energy. energy. You're happy with what you're doing because it's just a synergy. You're in sync with what you're doing and who you're interacting with. And other people can feel that. So this exchange of energy is really phenomenal. It's really powerful. And that is a place that I hope we all get to, because that's really what we're here to do. We spend so many years of our life working. Imagine what it would be like if it was just this right place that you were uniquely destined to fill. What would that feel like? So people want to work more than just a job. They want to do more than just bring home a paycheck. They want what they do every day to mean something. There's an expert, Michael Staker, who wrote a book called Purpose and Meaning in the Workplace. And he says that while meaning can come from work, it can also come from the people who populate the workplace. That relationship piece is super important. And ideally, it should come from both. So not only are you doing things that make a difference and that use your unique skills and that really put you out there in the right way, but you're doing it surrounded by people who also have this innate desire for meaning. And so you're coming from this very purpose-driven place, and that builds a really powerful community. This meaning proposition is ideally one simple sentence. It's really hard to write short. As a writer myself, I could do thousands of words for you really easily, but if you ask me to do 100 words, it's going to take me a really long time. So it takes a while to get to this meaning proposition. Right now, I'm working with 13 people in an awesome What's Your Story workshop. It's a 21-day intensive that I'm offering through the Make Meaning movement. And it's a day-by-day writing exercise that gets you to your meaning proposition. That's 21 days of writing a lot to end up with a very clear, concise sentence or two. So this is an assertion that offers, really what I'm here to do here is me. And these sentence starters at the bottom of this slide give you an opportunity, and I would encourage you, and I can send this to you guys after as well, to start with these and then write whatever comes next. So I believe, or I live according to. And you see that these are sort of digging into your personal values. They're digging into issues that are really present right now and urgencies that we feel individually and globally, and we start to show up in ways that are powerful. We make a difference. So I would encourage you, maybe take one of these a day and journal them and see where you end up. And then when you start to see the same words come up again and again, you're hitting on something that's getting you closer to your meaning proposition. And it's a process of writing a lot to whittle down and to really articulate your personal meaning, which I'm happy to help you do. I am not sure how that just happened. All right, so once you do that, you start to articulate what is unique about you, and then you carve your path. There's a couple of questions to ask yourself that are really important. Once you know what you have to offer, you have to look at where it fits. So first of all, what does the market need? And that's a very important question, because there are lots of, let's say, PR and marketing companies, which I own, but the way that I do it is very different than the way somebody else might do it. So there's a unique fit there. And when you can articulate it and dial it in, you know what your position is, you can find your audience. But what is needed out there is, are you positioned to fill that need? That's a really important question. We have lots of needs going on in our world right now. Everything is pivoting because of the pandemic, because of racial issues that are coming up and boiling to the surface finally. And so if you're uniquely positioned to address them, that might fit with a current market need. Know how you can uniquely change people's lives. So this is a relationship, but it's not foisted upon others. It's not you deciding, I think people need this. It's a give and take. So what are people saying that they need, and how can you fill that need? It's an exchange of energy and ideas and talents. And also that keyword of transformation in that second point is really important, because you're helping to transform your life, but you're also helping others to get to a similar transformation. That is ultimately why people engage. So if we can articulate that transformation from A to B and how you can take people there, you're going to attract people to you and you're going to be successful in your pursuits. You also want to know what your audience looks like as specifically as possible, and that way you can actually help them. So if you start by saying anybody can be my customer, you're going to have a really hard time attracting them. But if you say I'm just working with this small little segment of society, you can know them very well. They'll trust you because you know them, and that give and take starts to happen. And then finally, this last point is really important when I work with people in marketing and PR, is that, the messaging that I'm giving, yes, it's about me and what I can offer, but really it needs to speak to the person that I'm going to help. So what keeps people up at night? If somebody comes to my website at 2 a.m. because they can't sleep, I hope my content really reassures them and it helps them to know that I can help. It's not just me, look at me, this is what I can do. It's I hear you and I see you and we can work together to resolve whatever the issue is. In my work with marketing and PR, I believe that the meaning comes first, then your story. You figure out what that unique story is. It could be your meaning proposition. We've done this for companies too. So it's while there's personal meaning, there's also professional meaning, and every company should articulate what their meaning proposition is, and then your audience comes. So who do you build relationships with? These three components, I believe, are the key to all success. And if we don't address each of them, something is missing and we're going to struggle. So I encourage all of you to try to develop your meaning proposition first and then determine the work that you're going to do second. That's a little bit different. And I really wish that when I was in college or when I was in high school, there were classes on understanding who I am and what I have to offer to the world. Because while we were all encouraged to find lucrative career paths and do a major that will get us a job and that kind of thing, none of us, I don't think, had that conversation about meaning. Why are you here? What can you offer? What is your purpose? And I think it's about time that we started having that conversation. So I'm willing to have it, and I really encourage all of you to have it with me and with others as well. In the Make Meaning movement, which is very, very new, I'm developing 3 tracks that will be sort of a continuation of things, which the first one is a deep dive about 3 months into the reimagining, which everybody could do at some point in their life, reimagining how you might work, how you might bring your purpose to fruition. And whether that's, again, something that is forced on you because you lost a job or your industry evaporated or you choose to make a big leap, that's where the reimagining comes in. The second track will be starting up, so creating companies. Lots of people have experience and talent, and they say, you know what, I want to do it my way. I want to be my own boss. I want to launch something. And I've done that. I've built 3 companies in my life, so I feel like I've had 3 pause and pivots, and I am really excited to help people do that. I've been helping coach people along over the years, and that's something that I think is really needed, is bringing your unique spin on things and putting out your shingle and then being in control of your own time. So I'm a mom of 4, and my kids are teenagers, actually. One's going to college in a few months, and it's really important to me to put them first. So being my own boss, yes, it's a lot on my shoulders, but it also affords me the flexibility and the freedom to go to a soccer match when my kid is playing, or to take a walk with my daughter because she really needs to talk. And so I encourage everybody to think about the power that you hold and what would it be like if you put it out there. Not everybody's meant to own a company, but everybody can do it if they really believe that they can and there's passion behind it. The third track is writing your book. And this is for people who either go out on their own or have decades in an industry and they've really built expertise and they have a story. Every single person has a story, whether it's a professional one or a personal one. And putting it out there can be a life's goal. And so that is the third piece that we're going to be working with people on. So I want to close, and I'm going to open it up to Q&A just by asking you to think about how can you help? You have a lot to do, and there's a lot that you want to do. We have needs. We have to bring in income. We want to climb the ladder. But how can you do that and help others at the same time? So if you put your life first, your meaning first, the why you're here, the what's your why, and then you determine your work from it, think about what that might be like, how things might change. So please engage with me. There's opportunities to connect. I would love to hear from all of you and just learn about what you're doing and help you on your path to meaning. And I'm going to